going to record. If we decide to post this, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our little quadrant here. We're just kind of sharing some stories here about our energetic synchronicities, and we're going to just share this with into the field. Alasa was just talking about, I was introducing Alasa and Jess. So we've got Alasa here, Candace, Jess, myself, Carrie, welcome. Yeah, so Lhasa, I was just saying, Lhasa kind of you dream in future, but there's more to that. Will you keep going, please?
Yeah. So depending how much light will be in the show of that dream is how it may cascade it farther away. So if it's a lot of light or a larger group coming together with a lot of light, then I may dream it like 2 months ahead or a month ahead. But if it's typically the next day, I'm going to dream that last night. And it usually cascades itself right in the rising. So I pretty much did everything, and we're doing the second part right now, the dream.
I'm
But
going to
the
just
first
pause you
part,
for a
which
second, Alasa. Your internet, I think, might be really delayed, but we can hear you
yeah,
fine. We just can't see you in real time. You're kind of, there you go. Well,
as long as we can hear her, I think it's good.
Yeah.
So if it's so the last seemingly night we were at the school, the new school, and so this when it goes up levels where I'm at now, the center, it's like we were at the School of Venus, the round table, and so it's a beautiful like crystalline table. But we got to the table, the four of us, and maybe someone else just chimed in who comes here, Samantha. And so we got to the table, and I was like, oh gosh, like no one can hear us because we're speaking old astrology terms, and I need to clear all the seats. So I like lifted all the energy, like in the dream, but also I had to unplug the chairs because they go back into zero gravity. And so I had to do light language over them to get everything to clear off the seats. And I had to put the new octahedron template of the heart around each chair, or just kind of like holographically see it with my mind's eye as I was like doing the cleansing of the chairs. And you guys were all like stepped back waiting for me to set the grid so that we could get the spaceship to go to the next level, so that people could actually hear the new astrology that needed to be spoken about. That's again beyond what we've been identifying it as, because we realize that now, there's nothing out there, it's all inside. Yeah.
Ooh, beautiful. And Candace, what was your dream last night again?
I had to transfer to a new school to get the specialized education. So I went into a completely new building, very big, very open, and was going into a Minecraft convention where they were showing the new builds. They were teaching us the new builds. Which
Right.
I feel like is the new, which is very similar to what Alasa is saying. Like we need to bring in the new builds. And as she was speaking, I was just seeing pretty much the colors behind her, like this crystalline white rainbow harmonic, which reminds me, I was just writing of the white rainbow that I saw a vision of when Carrie and I were standing in the waters at Honeymoon Beach, just this white rainbow, which I heard another sister mention, and I don't remember her name, but she's the one that's working with Aubrey. She's the one that we've been really drawn to. She's the one that's speaking about Golden Atlantis. I can't remember her name, but she was
If I
talking
find
about
it, I'll
how,
add her name in the
yeah,
comments or the
she,
description.
yeah, she's talking about excuse me, how the rainbow to her is a symbol of the star mothers. And what are the star mothers? And that's a whole other thing. But as Alasa was talking, I was also seeing the new astrology as music, as musical harmonics, crystalline ping, ping, glistening coordinates that you attune with, that you attune to, that you attune through, that attunes through you. That is more playful. It's not set in any stone. It's more plasmic. It's more oscillating, and it opens into pockets of harmonics. It's not stagnant. You open in through a planetary node, and it's just each its own universal harmonic sequence of frequencies that are coalescing that you can play with, you can build with.
Yeah, Jesse, you've been talking about how free you've been feeling too. I mean, we oscillate, right? We have things that happen. But in the midst of all that, we're having this sense of, if you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just tuning into what you two have shared so far, and like the architecting of it, just it really feels like it's like how do I say this? It's like we're used to playing in the old way, in the old game, but we're actually in a new game and we don't really know the rules yet. And so we're like kind of architecting as we go. So it's kind of like for me, it feels more free, but I think for some people that can feel a little bit like lost because they're like, well, we're used to looking outside of ourselves to give us some direction. Like, well, when this happens, then I'll know where to go. Or when this, whatever. And I feel like it's actually the poles have shifted. Like we've talked about the poles, but it's like we are our own sense of orientation and we get to decide where to step next. But a lot of people are feeling lost because they're like, I feel free, but some people feel that as being lost because they're watching for something outside of them to give direction. And this new plasmic reality that we're tuning into requires us to be the ground that we stand on. It's like everything is, the ground isn't solid, so we have to be that. So that's what's just coming through for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're literally we're writing our own story as we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm
There's
drawing. What,
So
Alasa?
behind you, it's black, because you are the galactic center. The heart space is the galactic center. And so moving as the void harmonically, whatever you're cascading as you attune, almost like an eyeball, like a pupil attunes itself. But as you let more light in or let pull back into pure space, you actually cascade what's in front of you. And so we are the actual new living star mother that we have always been, but we're getting to experience because all the maps have folded in, all the four corners have lifted, which is interesting that we're doing a four corner today, but we're actually doing a rectangle, golden mean spiral, the four of us. They showed me in the dream. It wasn't a square, it's a rectangle so that it can move and spiral out. And so what I was sharing yesterday with Candace, that it's really important. They were trying to get a message that it's really important when you all come together, trine or even four corner it. It's a rectangle because your resonant match actually can come together and see the effervescent bubbles that you're fractaling out together. So you're resonant enough to find each other in the holographic star mother kit they're showing me, that can actually cross over at the same nodal points to see each other. And like Jess was saying, if you have been utilizing the map of the lower three energy centers to use gross matter as your navigation tool, and then all of a sudden everything, if it's you or people around you close to you like us, have folded things in, it can be disorienting because there's no more markers there. And so what used to tell you, oh yeah, that should happen because of the astrology or whatever, no longer exists because, and like Candace said, we can instantly, depending on the subsequence of vibrational tones that are coming through all of our, millions of acupressure points, all those little mini epicenters are literally creating the fabric of existence. So, it's all brand new, and it's every now moment. It's a new star, new constellation, new, multiverse. So it's super fun to be here now.
Yes.
As long as you're in that space of open-hearted, I drew this as you were talking. Oh, good, I got it there. Got my light. So ironically, I'm gonna put the ring right in the middle. So the top was the box we were in, and that's folded open, all the walls. And we talked about this a little bit before last time. So it's been in this cubicle, whatever, and it was actually folded out and in on itself. And then that person now is like the Da Vinci, circle. So it's like now all the walls have come down. We have this plane that we're playing in that has all of that existed from before. But now we have all this new space with which to create from and from within. And I was channeling this morning before we got on this call. And basically, the guides were like, look, and you had mentioned the lower points, Alasa, and like you were saying, Jess, people are a little confused right now, and it can feel a little bit out if they're not centered or they're just operating from the lower centers. That can cause things to feel too expansive or almost as if we need that guide point to look towards someone to pull us in the right direction or to push us in the right direction. But it's actually our own force, our own spin that's creating the direction from within that we're being called to then expand out into. And so essentially we're dissolving those layers, or they've already been dissolved. And as we dissolve those layers, it creates, I'm just going into flow right now, more compression. And this compression actually builds up within our epicenter. And that then it streams out into the field. And essentially, I can't even, I just went poof. And the more we can play with this and the more we allow ourselves to be that center of the void, the more we co-create from the space of the heart, the easier it is to feel unified in the field within ourselves. Because what happens is we feel like we're being pulled into, we're not sure where to go because we're not coming into that center space, or we're cut in half, right? We're not combining the cross, which is actually not just a two-dimensional shape.
Ooh, and I'm hearing center of attention. And it's like center of attention, but also center of the A chord, tension.
Yeah.
It's like that choice point, and it's the squeeze. It's the squeeze of that grape, of that juice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Yeah.
was also hearing when you guys were speaking that beings are lost in translation as they're being translocated.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are being asked to create a new translation to help translate them into the new into the new now, into the new location. And then now I'm hearing self-assimilation.
Because they're either standstill or they'll actually be in a lag, and they'll hiccup or they'll cycle at the same doorway again and again, not knowing how to get from it. So as long as they in this movement that we're creating, which like shows me like a upward tornado, not a downward, it's again transferring them, helping them translate and get up into their heart center so that they can actually rise to meet those who are at their heart center, like the unity grid. Like if you're looking at the flower of life, all of that is heart to heart to heart to heart to heart to heart. So the horizontal channel, which is the infinity Z line, not the X and Y of time and frequency, but it's the Z. It comes out and it goes forward and it's infinite. So everybody's getting linked back up into there. Now they're showing me LinkedIn. As long as they're willing to smile and laugh and make light of it and follow their joy or bliss, then they come out of standstill, or they come out of that cycle of old astrology that was keeping them going to the same door holes of whatever we've identified astrology as. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is that parentheses, Carrie, that you've spoken of before. Really, and I'll just speak for myself, but it is requiring me to spend more time solo by myself, with myself, off. Like, I mean, I was listening to Dan Winter. I'm just going to pull from what he's talking about, but we're talking about heart coherence and how to really be in that space requires to be offline, like get off your phone, like be in nature, like do those things that naturally put you in coherence, because that's how you anchor this space. I think how long we have to stay there is going to be different for everybody, but I'm finding I need to go there a couple times a week you know, and just get offline at least for a few hours, and then I can anchor it. So it's just going to depend on the person and what they're moving through.
Yep, but if they're willing to do that, then they jump right into sync and sequence, and the hearts all link back up. So that's why it's such a strong message to get barefoot and be in nature daily, rising practice. And then there's those who are advanced, that they are beyond those gross matter or toroidal field gross matter magnetic needs. And they've come back to 0 point, which I feel like the four of us access on a daily basis. When you go to those nature spots, you literally drop out. But so that when you do come into anythingness, it's no longer defined as a computer or an iPhone or anything like that. It's just these stacked up light particles that is being projected and played with. Yeah. Super fun.
Too. And you know, I enter nature, I enter myself. I am nature. So, and I build out that nature, that natural frequency from here now, and encoding the entire arcing structure of my reality. So I resonate very deeply with what you both are saying, because it's know thyself and know where it is that you are at and what it is that you require, and honor that so deeply.
Yeah, there's the Minecraft, right? So we're building out the new video game, and it renders on the fly depending on that which you're giving attention to, which is always what we've been doing, but it's now game is on in a whole new advanced level for participation of the Star Crew. Welcome
I-
aboard.
Yes, welcome aboard. And I
Welcome
keep
to the
hearing that.
new age.
Welcome to the new age and a whole new world. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid.
Mhm.
I for some reason want to share a little bit about like imagination that's coming up right now. So this, if you're used to creating from the lower energy centers and you're looking outside of yourself for like direction, or hey, I'm going to create with these things that are in 3D matter. To get out of that, what I've noticed is if I can go within, shut out the world, even if it's just for a few hours or whatever, then I can ignite my imagination, and then I'm creating from that. But if you're not in your own, or I mean, depending on where you're at in your process, but for some people, that's important, is like, how much are you imagining? Because you do have to build with something new. So they're like, well, what do I build with now? How do I build my new reality if I'm not supposed to be looking out here to do it? And that's how, is you've got to go within and imagine. And that's been helpful.
I also want to add to that. So for me, and well, all of us, synchronicity. So there are those who have difficulty going within. And of course, I have difficulty with that sometimes too. But as you were saying, Candace, I am nature. So when I'm walking, I'm surrounded by something, right? And I'm seeing things, I'm seeing nature, it's just being in that present moment to drop in. You can drop in without having to go in, to the mountains, for which we need to do anyways, ideally. So it's like we need to make time for that. Go to the beach, go to the mountains. But even just taking a walk and beginning to notice things around us can sometimes get you exactly what you're talking about, just to bring you back within. So I'm utilizing license plates. I'm utilizing the birds. I'm utilizing something that's right in front of me on the sidewalk, a crack in the sidewalk. And all of a sudden, I use that as a form of meditation that brings me back in, and it becomes a reflection of my imagination.
Yes.
And I'm working with everything that's around me to utilize and then reflect back to me. That allows me to create with what's right in front of me. So it becomes this living, breathing interaction with nature and utilizing all of our resources because it's boundless.
That's
And
a
And I
that's,
want
mhm.
getting back
I
to
wanted to oh sorry. I wanted to remind of the songs that I've been dropping in. those song flows that have been dropping in and
Bumblebee.
creating, yeah, just letting the universe bring in songs and what those songs are speaking, because I feel like those little song packets that are coming in are so multi-dimensional and multifaceted and non-linear in their fractality.
And those are all tools. So going within, using and seeing what your imagination brings forward, looking without, but which is really looking from within a place of mindfulness and presence. Know thyself, to be aware of what's happening and unfolding around us, utilizing music. Alasa, you're like in a constant state of synchronism.
And that assignment of folding everything that was defined as a definition into stacked up light particles then allows for, like you're saying, the natural ability to look at the hologram that you're projecting in front of you on the green screen to see like that you just put a crack or a pencil in front of you. And so those stacked up light particles that still have these identifiers of those original definitions that we folded in, um, then they open up the new word, right? The pen and the sill. And so they open up the new codes that we're putting in with all the rhyme and poetry and the realignment of beyond the lower aspect that we were entrained in of the world that we, still maybe straddle and have a foot in to utilize for these new markers of like, oh, well, that's a window, but really it's a deer in the wind, the wind in the dough. Anyways, so super fun. One thing I wanted to share was that he's not so much online in my reality anymore, which I find interesting that I seemingly like the Gene Key 41 will close things out. And so I will meet somebody at the Stargate and then I will never see them again. But I really will digest their material pretty full on. And one of the guys is Keshi, the Spaceship Institute in Iran, and his med beds are an orb that pose as a starship and a med bed, and he talked a lot about it in his workshops that I did online, like that the spaceship can be in your home, but you can also just drop in, and whatever frequency subset, like if you want to go to Venus, they're able to get into Venus in 7 minutes with this pod, because they just entrain those who utilize the medbed spaceship to feel like they're in Venus and generate that feeling, and then instantly it departicleizes and then reparticleizes in Venus. So he kind of dropped out, but it feels really a part of this new Minecraft training, because I felt like when I was listening to his material, it was like still kind of archaic. Like, we're still taking this, like, we're still taking something to somewhere, when the aura itself, the perfected being that we be eternally, does all of this beyond the outside seemingly stacked up light particles. So super fun.
I'm hearing chariots of fire, the fire chariot, all of that. It's like that's the auric field. That is our spaceship. Now, and I just want to kind of drop in here and say we're all at different layers and levels of this understanding. So I like to kind of make things like more simplified and for those who don't understand. So I just want to back the truck up for a moment because Alasa has an incredible healing space, which is we're going to refer to as a spaceship, the mothership. But it has technology, which is also very useful to help us get into a space of coherence, because some people they can easily drop in and like Jess offers, yoga and breath work and meditation and techniques to drop into the body and fully come into the body while connecting to earth. We always want to be able to connect with nature. And on another level, we also have technology to assist us in healing and allowing us to drop further into ourselves as well. And like what you have, Alasa, at your R3 miracle mothership, I always call it. And Candace, you utilize the sound and all of this energy that you move around with your hands and astrology and the gene keys to essentially map into our bodies and use it as a visual tool and a feeling tool. So we all have these amazing techniques just because and I love the fact that we're each able to present these at a different level or a different layer, because some people are going to understand it from one level and they're going to go, oh, okay, so breath work. Oh, okay, a med bed. Okay, a port. So I see this as we are walking anchors and portals. So we are the starship. However, when we utilize, and I love what you're saying about Venus, as soon as you said Venus, I just want to drop in about language, because you were talking about the new astrology, right? And we're talking about some of the new energies that we're co-creating with. So when I say the word Venus, and this is what I was channeling this morning, so this will be a really good time to pull that in. I see a geometry. I see a shape. I associate it with a color. I associate it with a planet. I associate it being connected into the Milky Way. I associate it with the galaxy. I associate it with the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I associate it with love. I associate it with the tennis player. I could go on and on and on and on. That leads me into a completely different map, and that is my way of interpreting astrology and language. So then I tune that in and I can say, all right, match point love, Venus. Tennis, this is our match. Match is love. That is the center point. Venus maybe is what we're tuning into. It's a synchronicity. So the fact that you're able to bring that into, that's my way of playing. And so we're each having these different opportunities to play with all of this in a very different way. And it's going to be different for everyone. And the rules don't apply anymore to the old schematic. And that's what you were saying, Jess. We're creating this now. And I'd love to go back into Alasa and Candace a little bit with that new astrology. So it's like, all right, so Venus, we've opened up portals and places that are extending out, are creating these fibers. And what I was kind of tuning into earlier was, because the sound that we are creating, like the whales, from our frequency, we're tuning into different parts of the universe that we weren't necessarily tuning into before, or we didn't recognize before. We're hearing more. And so as we do this, it opens up more portals and nodal points that we now have access to. It's reachable. And we can do this not by following the old set diagram, right, and rules of how we do that or what it looks like. It looks different, literally, energetically, frequently.
Things are a lot closer now as well. I was doing a little light language and toning and things like that in the bathtub last night. And we've been talking a little bit about this golden ring or this golden portal, or that's how I've been seeing it, or this grid, right? And I was just tuning into that as my focus last night as I was doing these sounds and mudras and things. All of a sudden, it used to be over here and it just was like whoop, and it was like right in front of me. And it was almost like everything that's in this, what we'll call it a timeline or whatever, that's in this portal was like, it was almost like right next to me, could like poke me. It was, everything is right here, where before it almost felt like what we were desiring or what we were wanting to experience was kind of like farther away. I don't know how else to describe this, but everything is here around us, almost like we could touch it or it could touch us. That's kind of what I was tuning into last night. Yeah, it's fun. It's more, you can play with more. And I see that kind of that buffet table that I keep coming back to. It's like everything is available, and it's like a kid in a candy store, kind of like, what do you want to go play with? And then you can change your mind and you can come back to it and you can run around and it's not as fixed. Yeah, it's fun.
Peter Pan.
Yeah.
I keep seeing this quantum silly string like that comes out of the can, but like we're making it like Spider-Man, like Spider-Woman. Like I have these light filament particles that I'm constantly weaving with and playing with, and it's just so delightful and divine. And it's like, what do you want to build? What do you want to feel? What do you want to experience? And I love how you are both talking about Venus, because I have my very own Venus synchronicity, and I won't share it, but it's very special. And I love how just one thing, like the word Venus, can be such an echolocation, such a reverberation. Like I'm seeing this echo location in a good way. Like that one power point is causing a sonar system, and it's setting off that sonar capacity within each one of us, hitting us and pinging us and impacting us in a unique way, a very positive way, just like the sound again. Ting, ting, ting.
Showing
Okay. Oh,
this
yes.
the word Venus, like right now with this example, when we say the word Venus, if your eyes are open and you can still see within, like it's like a mirage, or if you have to close your eyes to see within, like we all of a sudden a bunch of people just showed up there to that frequency subset, just to the seemingly place, because there is no places, there's no locations. They were just words and definitions and vibrational entanglements creating that reality. So oh, so that's what they were talking about, Candace, when I reached out to you. So I just saw it all. So these places that we meet, the places you meet anybody, it's always been going on. You have a divine alignment, agreement, appointment to go to, a grocery store and see everybody you see there. So, and we've been utilizing that slowed down version of reality creation by the maps and the signposts and all the gross matter fixed positions that everybody believed, it was a city called Clearwater, Florida. And there was, a building at the corner of Drew Street and Alt 19. So, which is great. This is not going away. But what we're seeing is how we actually were the architects of that. So it's reversing everything so that we can access instantly, like Jess just said, it's right there. So last night when I was toning and mudraing and golden lighting with you, they were like, drop into the full stream, like keep dropping in, keep like literally being full stream from source origination point, and just go ahead and pull that in and pull that in. So we're really, we're at such a yummy position of creating like internal new playgrounds. So the artists in us are really being called forth to draw and paint that inner terrain. And they've always been on us for like 5 years about the blueprinting. We need you blueprinting down there. Making the new maps, like we, burn the maps and make new ones. And I'm like, okay, so this is that now moment of every now moment of we get to realize that the seemingly so far away is right there as long as we just drop into source stream and see, I could just drop in and see Jess, like, hey Jess, I'm in your room. I hope you don't mind right now. I kind of asked in a higher realm first before I said that. And then we see each other, whether it's behind the eyes and the veil. I'm like, oh, Candace is here, yeah.
I just share, this is the card. How did you do that, Carrie?
Yeah, just go slow.
It's the artist card.
And the rainbow.
That's
And
what
the
I pulled.
rainbow.
And there's
the
a
Greek.
I know, right? Of course, I pulled that this morning. But yeah, the rainbow. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up Alas's picture.
I was just telling Carrie this morning or some point that I was not remote viewing.
Wait, let me see if I can. Oh, there it is.
Oh, I saw that. Yes. Wow.
Kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
Oh, actually, how interesting. And the water, actually, yeah, look at that. There's even the water. Oh my God, that is trippy. Okay. Love it. I love it. We were definitely connecting, Alasa.
Yes. And I was looking up pictures of rainbows, trying to find white rainbows and plasma rainbows and making posts about it.
And I was traveling through the Rainbow Ice Bridge.
The Bifrost.
The Bifrost.
The Asgard Bifrost of the plane of the gods. That we be, that we are. Um, I was saying to Carrie today that I was remote being with her. I wasn't remote viewing. I was remote being. I was just feeling myself walking around in her house. And she had a dream that I was with her and her husband, and I was just hanging out with them. I'm like, yeah.
Because she was. It's like bilocation, but it's a whole other, way of bilocating. It's not
It's,
whole other. We've been doing
yeah,
this
it's B location.
bilocation.
B locating.
It's the location. Our new location is being the location. How would you like to come aboard the ship?
So this also brings to mind how we're co-creating together because we connect through this. I was reading, I don't know why I drew this arrow. Here we go with the arrow and the bees, right?
Oh,
So I was seeing this is the node point. You're sending out that signal, it hits it and it reflects and it bounces back and it comes back. And it's just like we're here, it's almost using that sonar. What my guides were, kind of saying this morning was we're actually co-creating in this way. We're kind of pinging off of each other, which we've always been doing. We're doing it more consciously now. And it has more holding weight, not in a negative way. It's got more density in a positive way. It's got more
It's sticking.
flux. Yeah,
It's sticking. It's connecting. The
the web.
connections are being held. Like we're making that synaptic connection, and it's holding in a crystalline, vibratory pattern, creating new patterns, new lattice structures that will hold for as long as they're required, and then they collapse and then they build out again. And then those ping points create cellular memory, and that's how I'm able to quantum access your home, because I embedded and coded myself there. So now I can remote be with you at any time. And a word was coming through that wanted to be spoken. It was a new word that a friend of mine and I were working on because of the word synarchy. We're like, okay, can we create a new word for synarchy? And it was heart arrow archy. Heart arrow archy. Heart arrow archy.
Well, that's an arrow and an arc.
And also arrows, arrows. And then there's a computer programming word for ERO.
Hmm.
Can't remember what it was, but it works.
I can totally dive into that. Ooh.
I was going to say the arcing reminds me of craniosacral, which you've talked about before, like bringing that back in the body. There's something to the arcing component,
Ooh.
right?
Okay, so I mean, we're tying this all in because I was thinking of the space arc. So I'm referring kind of to what we're co-creating. Also, the portal that you have at your place, Alasa. My place is a portal. All of our places are portals because of what we've established there energetically. Also, where we're located on the earth, I do believe that my spot is a portal. But having said that, the arc. So the arcing is for me an electrical conduit of energy. It also has to do with the arc, which is our DNA, our arc that we carry our source codes within, but also our king, our crown, connecting all of our conduits together as kings and queens that we are. Okay, let me. I just going into mad flow with all of that. But the cranial sacral. So everything we described earlier, oh, we lost Candace, has this pulse to it, right? So we're grounding, we're anchoring, we're in the Therify equipment, or we're in the ship, creating that pumping. Basically, when we bring that cranial sacral fluid into alignment, and it becomes fluid and not stuck in certain it can get stuck because we had an old injury. It can be stuck because we have emotional blockages. It can get stuck because of habit patterns, which all of those things are habit patterns that we've created within our bodies, physical, emotional, mental, so on and so forth. So as we allow this cranial sacral fluid, which is CSI, which is the Christic fluid that bathes all of our nodal points and access points and nadis and channels within the body, it lights up all of the neurons, which they're not neurons, but it does light up the neurons, but it helps us to fire different in a different way, different codes, and it helps us to access all of the memories, the cellular memories that have been essentially dormant inside of us, from my perspective. And essentially, we can do that through cranial sacral, we can do it through yoga, we can do it through Therify and other devices, we can do it through breath work. And that's coming online for a lot of us just naturally now because it's time. So, if you guys want to rip more on that.
Just that breath, the mare wave, when you slow down 5-second breath, 5 in, 5 out, that brings the cranial sacral rhythm and the spinal fluid to that perfected state so that you actually then go omnipresent and you stretch across the plane of existence. So it brings you instantly into bliss mode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which Jess, that's what you were. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I feel like I can hear people like, oh, that's great that you guys walk around in the state, but like, how do you get there? I always go, because that's who I teach. I teach people that are like, well, that's cool for you, but, and so it's like, so that heart coherence. And then also what's worked for me to add to the heart coherence is putting on the golden ratio, the golden mean, like frequency. So sometimes I'll just be breathing in heart coherence, and then I'll put on like something through YouTube or something that is playing that frequency. And then it's like all of a sudden I can feel my cells activate, and all of a sudden I can feel, you could call it Kundalini, starts to rise. And all of a sudden then I can access more of my imagination or more of this. But sometimes we wake up and we just feel kind of dense. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, I just feel heavy today. And I'm not waking up in a flow state. And that's, I just want to say that that's okay. And you'll learn what works for you to get into that space easier.
And try new things. If something doesn't feel like it's working, it's fun to try new things. I had so much fun playing in Clearwater, and being in water. I mean, just being with playing. And actually, I also want to add to this. This is a shareable energy. So being around others who are able to access that, that's why this can be powerful for those of us who know how to access that, which we do. Doesn't
Oh, that storm.
Carrie, you're
Well, I
frozen.
think it's that too, right? When you wake up in your density and you're down a
doesn't mean
density.
we're doing it constantly, but did I
You
pause out? Was
froze.
that my internet?
Yeah, you froze for a minute.
Okay, so all right, so it's a shareable wave is essentially what I was saying.
It's a shareable wave, and it's a contagion. It's a cross contagion. It's a cross pollination. And so we're not here to be like, oh, look, we're so great. We're like, we are so great, and so are you. And let's play with that Play-Doh, that plasma. And you don't have to use all of these oh my gosh, terms that we're using. I love to talk about this directly and individually with people because I'm so passionate, and my infectious passion and love will be infused in the presence of the container when we are cross firing. And so it's like, I love 70s music, and that is the vibe for me. So how do you get into heart coherence? How do you get into bliss charge mode and radiance? I put 70s music on and I start to dance, and I'm like, hey, hey. And that is me. Like, I can just instantly get myself there. 70s music.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Playing like a child, frolicking in the water. Play. It's be like a child to enter the kingdom. That's it. Access the childlike wonder. Some people use plant medicines to get there, like you can do, and that's your own prerogative if you want to use the help of like mushrooms or something. And play, get the paints out, get the paper, and create the pathway in yourself and commit to creating that pathway. It's a muscle at first that we build in a sense. It's that muscle memory, it's that cellular memory, and you're committing to forging that pathway. And that's how we've all got to where we are, through dedication and commitment. We didn't just wake up this way. We had to build out, and that's the Minecraft. We had to build the pathway from scratch. And when you commit enough and you meet that enough within yourself, eventually there's a momentum that's gained, and then it gets really juicy and creative. But, you know, and I'm not saying it's got to take any amount of time for anyone. I'm saying it could take no time for anyone. And I'm here to hold that knowing for them that it doesn't have to take as long as it's taken me, that they could just get it, that they could just have that epiphany and go, oh, it's a feeling. And now I'm hearing, I'm hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing. And that's what it is. And there's a whole message that's been coming through that I think I shared today that's going to be shared more, is that we are a choice that I have made. We have made. You've chosen to be. You've chosen to be here now. You're still choosing to be here now. So, what is the origin and the quality and the feeling of that choice? And how does that choice unfold from here now into everything that you are, that all of your interactions? So, finding that original sound, that original choice point that you're still choosing. Because if you weren't choosing it, you wouldn't be here. So you've made that choice. So commit to it. Get in touch with it. However you need to really unfold that choice that you are through all that you are.
Alasa, were you gonna rip?
Oh, just the unpacking of the density, and when we find ourselves in the density, like, you know, my last evening was like, I'm changing the room around, you know, and I just literally or tornado my room into like 5 different positions, moving things back and forth to the same position. And when I look at it, you know, on the outsider looking in, I'm like, this lady is nuts, you know, and however, I share this for all of us who may be watching this, that, you know, sometimes it's moving things around so that you can allow yourself to be new. And that second thing is, are you willing to drop the version of yourself that even made the choice to be here right now? Like, can you drop that version, dematerialize yourself, close your eyes, and imagine like little particles of yourself, blah, 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 like going to nothing, and then drop into the next version of the new choice in the next now moment that says, well, I want to experience that bliss they're talking about. And can you then slow your breath down, and, you know, down to 5 seconds in and out, and smile and touch your chest, your heart center, and ask, what would bring me bliss right now? And so you might visualize that you're going to run outside and stomp around in the mud, whatever it is. But that willingness to drop into new identity was like so strong yesterday. And then being willing that close your eyes reality where you're just dematerializing yourself, but the open eye also, clean your house, move around your furniture. I can't say that enough, because of how much we're shifting the current from outside in to inside out. If things need to move around every day, you know, do it. If you need to weed your front pathway and you're like, oh, it just seems so silly. Oh my gosh, if you do these physical actions of movement, that are part of the allowing for something to shape shift new, you will literally lift an anchor that was so unseen, an invisible anchor that was the size of the Statue of Liberty. They're showing me, just by pulling one weed. And you're like, oh my God, I feel new. Because the
I
Statue
love
of Liberty
that.
is copper, right? So copper grounds. And so
Mm.
we've been bound and grounded by a monument that was meant to be liberating. I'm going to dematerialize that one right now. Whoosh.
Statue of Liberty has come up a lot for us.
Well, I mean, think about the times
Thank
that we're
you.
in right now. I go ahead. Sorry, Candace.
Oh, I just said thank you.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for dematerializing that, by the way. So I was writing comment, commit, choice point. Like I was just seeing this comment like going off, and that reminded me back to, because if you look up choice, which I found, because you know I love words, if you look up the etymology, it's taste is part of that.
Mm.
What's interesting, ready? Dun dun dun. So this comes back to the cerebral spinal fluid and bliss, because the nectar of the gods is that drip, 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 the sweetness in the mouth. It's a physical thing. So when we go into a state of bliss, it's not like we're going to have this all of the time, but you'll actually taste a different taste in your mouth. And it's like a sweetness that kind of comes from the roof. And it's like, what is that? And it is actually from that cerebral spinal fluid or kundalini rising up, coming up the chimney into the colostrum, right? The Santa Claus dripping presence down the chimney, pineal, pituitary, your glandular activation and secretion, the royal secretion, the crown, that is actually coming down, and that activates that bliss charge. And if you can hold that space in coherence, that is the liberation. That is liberating. And if you can ground and anchor that energy at the same time and stay in your body when you do it, you're able to access all of these other experiences by choice, what you choose to access. Maybe you don't want to bilocate. Maybe you just want to be a great mother and pass this wonderful energy to your kids. Or maybe you want to share that with them or a friend. Or maybe you just want to sit in bliss and really take in the smells all around you, whatever that is. But it's the taste, it's a choice.
Love that.
Whew.
Hmm.
Are we going to end on that note, or should we keep ripping? What do you think?
That
Like 5 more
feels good.
minutes
Yeah.
or 10?
Well, the taste brings up the palette. So the palette of colors for art then allows for the palette of taste of like the nectars of the fruits. And so, and then they're even bringing in a palette of crystals on a truck. So all of those palette choices are also a fun remedy, like just what are you tasting? What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And truck is
just
vehicle. Our vehicle does our
mm,
truck.
Many of us are coming into inner authority, which is inner author, inner authorization, inner artist. And we, in this place that we've come into within ourselves, it's like you have creative freedom. You have this new lease on life, and it's like a Minecraft build out. Whatever you want to build it. Here's all of the tools. You're in creative mode. You're not in survival mode anymore. You're in creative mode. Know that you have access to all the tools, and in order to have access to all the tools, you must know that you have access to all the tools. So what do you
Mm-hmm.
choose to paint with? And so there are those of us that are just trying this on for size, trying on our size, and and it's just like these baby steps, but I'm also seeing them as giant leaps. Oh.
It reminds me, Statue of Liberty reminds me of that woman on the beach that I saw when we were at Clearwater.
Mm. Oh yes, in the size. And
Mm-hmm.
then
The
I'm
giant.
also seeing the giant marshmallow man from Ghostbusters, the State Puff Marshmallow Man,
Yeah. And
and
crossing
how
streams.
crossing streams, and how, this adorable thing kind of just grew out of proportion and was just, kind of like, I don't know why I'm, coming through this city. And it's just like, that is a creation gone awry. That is something that's just not been claimed. And so we're coming in to just reclaim the space and recommand. And the word command, I like to say, is with a calm hand. And it's
mm,
that calm energy, it's that calm, crystal clear water. And it's the one that can say, I can. I'm okay with this. I can. Yes. Okay. I see. No reservations, no hesitations.
mm.
I was
I
seeing 5
And
fingers and phi,
mm,
the golden ratio.
yeah.
Mm.
Phi.
I was Carrie, the box metaphor, like when the box opens, like something else that was coming in just now was it's funny we're talking about giants and the Statue of Liberty and all, because yesterday, again, when I was in that space last night, I was feeling into these huge aspects of myself, like these newer aspects of self that are coming online that I have known have always kind of been guiding, but it's like they're coming into physical form embodiment. So some of the tools that we have available to us now, or some of the new paintbrushes or whatever that we have available, are coming from these new versions of ourselves that have kind of been in the background, but now because that box is open, they can access, feels like they're just coming into more embodiment. And so I guess I'm being, I guess, told like, don't be surprised at what you want to create now. That's so different than what you wanted to create before, because the parts of you that were doing the creating before were maybe not fully grown parts. And I'm speaking in internal family systems here, but like they were our little parts, maybe like our, wounded parts that we didn't even realize that we're like working from a different space. And now that we have access to everything, that also means access to these other dimensional parts of us or versions of us. I just see, for me, it's just like this mirror, just like I see all these versions now here that really want to create through me in embodied form. And so that just feels huge.
Huge. Yeah, I was with you last night on that. That when they were having the new identity, I was seeing us like as our source stream giant self, and it's so like yummy plasmic color being golden rose ray was like dropping in, and she's like, "Oh, good, now you can do this." And so it was like again, we were just like pulling in. I was pulling in all these new creations, and and they'd be some repeats, like they're like, yeah, now see that house, and see how you're moving around your new living room right now. Which we've again always in the principles of like manifesting and like doing the build out from heart and mind coherence of your vision and feeling as if, but it was this big being, the giant self was like, oh good, you're ready. And I was like, ooh, as I moved the room around, like, man, we are here. Like, yeah. Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah.
And I want to come back to just a little bit of that too, because sometimes it can feel scary to be so big. It
Yeah.
can be feel difficult to show up in that wholeness of what we really have access to, because what I was hearing was parameters. Like we had these parameters that we were working within, and now those parameters have been lifted and expanded out. And so when we come back to what we've been talking about, which is coming back into coherence, finding those moments of joy, they're going to help us to anchor that support system for ourselves in a much more, I'm hearing all these words, but palpable, usable, manageable way. And then it doesn't feel so, um, some of those fears that we thought we were afraid of, like those parts you're talking about, Jess, really, for some people, aren't even going to be there anymore.
Exactly.
But we're like, well, shouldn't I be afraid? Well, wait, why didn't that work before? How come it's so seamless right now? Because everything has shifted. So once we let go of our old parameters and our old definitions and our old ideologies of what we needed to be or what we needed to accomplish first, it kind of gives us a more interactive and quantum way. And I'm hearing the Minecraft now too, Candace, like we're building it out in a different way. So it doesn't necessarily have to follow in the same order, right, that it once did. We're starting to work in a much more quantum way that it's not like, well, I have to do A, B, and C, and I should feel this way. So I need to heal that first before I'm able to access this, maybe, or maybe not.
Ooh, I want to say something on that. I was writing something today about how everybody has been like, oh, we have option A or B or C, but we're unlocking the options of infinite we.
Whee!
And so we're being called to hold and open the doors and unlock these unlimited potentials and hold that full spectrum, full spectral vision capacity. And as that beacon, just shining those potentials out. And it's like, there's way more options. Way more options. We are way more options. And that's unlocking the infinite we. And it is just a smile. It's a contagious smile that is rippling out and oscillating out. And in that sound and that crystalline going through the airways, and we're holding that together. And we're just going to keep doing that and being that. We're going to keep, and it's just going to build and build upon itself. And that's the light that we make. That's the light that we be. That's the light that we make together. And it's delightful.
That infinite we is in French, infinite yes. Oui, oui.
Yes.
So what do you think? Were we complete for now?
I feel complete.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. This has been just amazing. So fun to play. And thank you for everybody who's shared with us in this now moment and beyond, always in the now. So thank you, Alasa and Jess and Candace.
Thank
To
you.
be continued.
For sure.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody else. I'm just going to hit pause.